Hi, I'm Dr. Ben Jenkins, Associate Professor in the Department of Counseling, Educational Leadership, and Higher Education. My background is in PK-12 education, and I will be the trip leader for Ireland Trip 2023.
And I'm Ann Hornack, and I will be co-leading along with Ben on this experience. And we're super excited that you're interested in this and hope that you glean lots of information out of this overview. And of course, at the end, we have all of our contact information, but this will give you at least a little insight into what you're going to experience in this Ireland 2023 trip.
So we're looking forward to having you join us for our trip to Ireland in the summer of 2023. That's a 12-night, 13-day excursion where we're visiting the island of Ireland and Northern Ireland to really spend our time immersing ourselves into not only the cultural experiences of Ireland, Northern Ireland, but also the educational experiences. As educational leaders and students of education, we'll have the opportunity to visit some amazing sites, but also visit some wonderful organizations and schools and talk with some really fabulous individuals to get a better understanding of how they think about and address the issues of education in their context.
Some of the cities that we'll go to, and we would encourage you to look up a map of Ireland so you can kind of orient yourself to the country and where we'll be. But we'll start in Dublin. We'll begin our experience there. We will then go over to Glenculmkeel and have an opportunity to talk with some of our colleagues about the Irish language. Gaelic language, we'll have actually a language lesson. We'll go up to Galway, then we'll go up to Londonderry and end in Belfast before we go back to Dublin to head home. Some of you may go on and travel. We'll talk more about that later. But this is kind of the big highlights of some of the cities that we'll see in Ireland.
And one of the main elements we mentioned is that we're here really to talk a little bit more about the programs that they offer for their students from a kind of a PK-12-20 perspective. So as we think about the pre-K experience into elementary and higher education as well all the way through, understanding what it's like to live and work in these environments. We'll be visiting the schools themselves, PK-12, as well as universities at all the sites that Ann had mentioned within the various cities. Talking with leaders, talking with teachers, individuals that work in these settings. But even beyond that, as a group and as a class, we'll also be having conversations. So we'll be visiting places such as the Temple Bar here in the picture and having conversations over dinner about what we learned and the challenges that they experience and how they're different than our context. And really getting a little bit deeper into the understandings of how our systems are different, similar, and what we can learn and draw from that.
And one of the things that we would encourage you to think about as you look at this tentative itinerary is what are the areas that you're interested in? Because it is a class, so at some point you will drill down to something that you're really passionate about. So let's just say you want to look at mental health through an Irish lens. Think about this broadly from a comparative education. Maybe you're an organizational person. The way that they have organized education is really different than here in the United States. The Ministry of Education largely runs. Their policies are very different. So begin thinking about what really interests you. Last time we went, we had a student who did a project on the way that the Protestant Catholic ongoing challenges and unrest influence education. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of think about this, and we're hoping to give you a very broad overview of Ireland so that you may drill down in those different ways.
In terms of the additional information about the program, the kind of the breakdown, the cost for the trip is broken into a couple different elements. The first is the program fee and tuition. These are, in all intents and purposes, combined. But the cost for the tuition is going to be based upon the number of credits you take in which course. So EDL 752 as an example would be at a master's doctorate level, depending on what program that you're in. Then on top of that, there's going to be airfare, which is going to be the student's responsibility, and any additional miscellaneous or expenses that you want to incur on the trip itself. So I would plan for, at this time, about that $7,300 up to $7,600. We're still working on the final price of the trip as we finalize the itinerary. exchange rate will obviously determine the final cost next summer, so we'll keep in touch with the exact amount, but this is what we would plan for in terms of the trip itself. In terms of, we talked about the itinerary and shared that a little bit before about obviously traveling throughout the country. In terms of what we're including in the trip, it's, as we said before, it's a 2-week excursion, so 13 nights is what we're planning for, and all meals are primarily included. There's going to be some meals that won't be included, but for the most part, most of those are included for the 2 weeks. And this is a group tour that's being conducted through a travel agency that we're using, Classport, and they provide all of the support. So we'll have guided coach tours as we visit the various cities and sites throughout the country. We have 24-hour ground support and a lot of elements that you wouldn't have if obviously you traveled by yourself. And so with a group of individuals, we've got a lot of that support. We're looking about 15 to 16 individuals for the trip total. So there is only limited space. So if you are interested, we do encourage you to think about applying. The application date is February 1st. That doesn't lock you into any fees specifically. After that point, we'll finalize the list, and then we'll have to start thinking about, obviously, airfare and scheduling things specifically. And then the fees will be due in the month of March and April. So a couple other things we wanted to mention really quickly is that we are also planning on doing an orientation session. So there will be a formal orientation right through Central Michigan University for All Study Abroad, but we're going to be doing one of the department, and I will get together with you around the April timeframe to walk through what questions you have, more the details about the travel, when we're going to be arriving in country, how the transportation in country works, and just the experience itself. This is through a class, and so there will be some expectation for some reflection, a little bit of project-based work, both in country and afterwards, because you will be responsible for submitting a paper for the class. But a lot of it is self-design, as Ann mentioned, where we're thinking again about your experience. How do you want to make this work for you? So you can reflect on your own learning in your program and how you think about how this experience ties in with what you've learned both throughout your program, but also within a unique setting in that context.
One of the questions that we always get is, do I have to bring a bunch of books, and am I submitting papers in Blackboard while I'm in Ireland, and do I have to worry about Wi-Fi and all of that? The answer is no. Anything that we do ahead of time, so that we want you prepared when we're on the ground in Ireland, we'll talk through at our extended meeting. We're hoping that we spend some time together getting to know each other. You'll have a roommate. You'll obviously want to have some choice in that. So, we'll be spending a bit of time together doing, kind of some more extensive get to know you, and we'll negotiate and talk through, like, what do I have to do for this class? It also depends on how many credits you take. So the experience will look different for each student. And I just want to make sure, when you walk into a class on campus, everybody's taking 3 credits, you get a syllabus. This is much more emergent. It's a little more fluid than that. So, but there's no expectation that you're lugging a bunch of books to Ireland and reading every night and stuff like that.
Yeah, we'll cover all those details in the orientation. So, where to find us. If you have any questions, please reach out. Here's Ann and my email address here. And also the information page, we'll send the link with this video. It'll obviously be attached to this video. So if you have more questions, you can click on the link. It has all the information about the costs and how to apply for the program. There's not a requirement in terms of the application itself. We just have to have an individual apply for the program directly and be a student and qualify for that. So
there's an administrative fee for the study abroad application. That's $150 that you do pay when you submit the application. And if you cancel the program, you do not get the $150 back. If we cancel the program, or CMU does, for COVID or safety or any other reasons or numbers, you do get the $150 back. So we should be transparent about that.
So again, reach out if you have any questions. We look forward to hopefully seeing you on the trip.
Thank you.